Hello Floss Tube, welcome to Snickerdoodle Stitch. If it's your first time here, welcome, and if you're returning, thanks so much for coming back again. So this is my official Flossaversary episode, so I have some patterns I want to give away. My 1-year anniversary of doing Floss Tube was actually the end of April, but I postponed it because I had to have some surgery last week, and thank you so much to everybody who sent well wishes for me. My surgery did go well. I'm still recuperating. I probably overdid it today, and by overdid it, I mean I did leave the house and went and met a friend for dinner. And yeah, it's been a week of really just sitting on the sofa and stitching. So I've got a ton of stitching. I actually have an FFO. I have 9 starts and I think 5 finishes. Yeah, 5 finishes. And I have to say, I was really looking forward to 2 weeks of doing nothing but sitting and watching, binge watching, whatever. I got HBO Max for the month. I'm just going to get it for the 1 month. And I've been watching The Gilded Age, which has been fun because I did go to the mansions in Newport when I was on my way to Stitch New England last year. And a lot of it is filmed in a couple of the mansions there. So I'm like, oh, I remember that kitchen. So that's been fun. But yeah, I was really looking forward to nothing but 2 weeks of stitching and binge watching television, and 1 week in and I'm really bored. I actually debated today driving down to the stitching post. It's about an hour from me. It's a good thing I didn't, because going to dinner, by the time I got home, I was achy. So surgery went well. I have 4 incisions. They are healing nicely, but everything still just aches. I sort of feel like I did a lot of sit-ups the day before. You know how you get up that next day and you're like, oh, I used muscles that I haven't used. That's sort of what it feels like, but not bad pain. And thank you to, I had some people that commented and let me know to expect shoulder pain from the gas that they used to inflate your abdomen for laparoscopy. And I don't think, even with people warning me, that I was really quite prepared for what that was going to be. When they said it would be in my shoulder, I was thinking, you know, in your back, like behind the shoulder blade. No, it literally was right here, on both sides. Fortunately for me, it only happened when I would try to lie down to go to sleep. Or maybe, unfortunately, it made for a couple rough nights of sleep, but, or no sleep. But it didn't really affect my stitching. What's affected my stitching more is a lot of times with the Q-snap, I kind of rest it on my abdomen, and that's not an option. So I'm having to actually hold them up more. And then I did try stitching in a frame, and I think I'm hunching in an awkward angle at the frame. Probably not ergonomic under the best of circumstances, and definitely was not working great with my present circumstances. So I did do that for 1 day, and then that prompted me to go down the rabbit hole of looking at floor stands again. I do have a floor stand, and that's what I was using with the scroll frame. My floor stand is probably 30 years old. It's a wooden one, and it came from AC Moore, which, for those that aren't in this part of the country, AC Moore was a chain, was one of the first kind of craft store chains, really around the same time as Michael's was exploding. AC Moore was in this part of the country. They did go out of business and were bought by Michael's. But anyway, it came from a box store many, many, many years ago. So the quality is better than what you would find in a box store today. The challenge is it's really designed to be used in front of you, and I have a footstool in front of me, a big like ottoman stool, and it doesn't have a lot of clearance underneath. So and neither does my actual love seat that I'm sitting on. So it's not really fitting. So it's causing me to use it at a funny angle and kind of lean weird. And anyway, I decided to go back to looking at floor stands. I had heard a lot of people rave about the Lowry, and I was leaning that way, but I wasn't really finding the one that I wanted. And then in watching some videos, There was one YouTube video from several years ago, and it was someone who has the Lowry and a case creation, which is a metal stand that's very similar, but actually has a ball joint at the top so that you can really position your piece however you want. And she did a great job at comparing the pros and cons of the two stands, and her end assessment was that she actually liked the Kay's creation a skosh better, but at the time it was significantly more than the Lowry. You could buy the Lowry and have it shipped direct from England for under $100. That is not the case today. So I did buy a Kay's creation. I use a Kay's creation lap stand for smaller pieces to hold them, just to save on arm fatigue holding pieces that I'm stitching for a long time. And I've been extremely happy with it. So I bit the bullet and ordered the metal Kay's creations. I'll show it when it comes. I think it's supposed to arrive the end of May, so a few weeks. Nothing like the lead time on a few other stands that I looked at, and one I inquired about, and they said that they are now taking orders for 2025. Anyway, I thought I would be doing a lot of stitching and watching TV and not spending much money, and I bought a floor stand, so that wasn't the case. But I have a ton to show. I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting anything else. Just life stuff. My best friend came and stayed with me the first few days, and that was like a girls' sleepover weekend. We had a good time since I really wasn't feeling badly. I was awake in the day and just hanging out. She actually worked here from my office. We work for the same company, so she was able to connect into my docking station and everything, and have my office set up for the day. But yeah, so she came and stayed. We had girls sleepover for the few nights. She left over the weekend, and I've been here, and like I said, I am bored with TV and stitching, so I was actually looking forward to filming tonight. Not feeling fantastic tonight, but really just wanted to go ahead and get this done. So I have some patterns I want to give away for Flossaversary. I think I've got like 9 patterns pulled out. They're ones that you will have seen the pieces here, and for the most part they are patterns. I pulled patterns that are the half sheet size, not a full sheet size, because the postage is more manageable on these. So I want to do those first, and then I'll do the FFO and show all of the new stitching. Everything else other than the FFO are pieces that you haven't seen before. So I did 9 starts, and I have 5 finishes, and those finishes, one of them is something that you saw before, and the other 4 are pieces that I started and finished in the last week. So I didn't get a lot of stitching done the weekend before surgery because I was busy cleaning the house, and I baked a ham so that I would have ham. I'm sick of ham too, about as sick of ham as I am with the TV. So most of the stitching is post-surgery, but let me start, and for anybody who's not interested in the patterns, I'll put the chapter mark in so that you can skip ahead and skip this part. But here are the patterns, and I've got the keywords here. So this first one is Val's Little Stuff, Ho Ho Ho, and the keyword is cat, and this is the pattern. I have not FFO'd this one yet. I finished it, but I didn't FFO it, and the little tiny jingle bell is even still here in the pattern, so I'll send that. I didn't put the words ho 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 on, partly because I wanted it to be smaller, and so I didn't use the string and didn't use the little bell. But the keyword for this one is cat. And this next one is Little House Needleworks. It's the Schoolhouse from Homeetown Holiday. And this one I also finished, but didn't FFO it. This one, I want to finish kind of in a block. to use for a smalls exchange. And the keyword for this one is school. You'll see I've got the keywords on the blue post-it note, so if with my accent it's not clear what I'm saying, the word is there. So that one is school. This next one is from Sweet Wing Studio, and it's Spring Doxology. And the keyword is spring, and it's these cute little bunnies. And what is that from? Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Is that Psalms? I don't know. For me, it was part of our responsorial in our church service. The word for this one is spring. I did stitch this one without the phrase on it. I just wanted the little bunnies and birds and tulips. And that one I just FFO'd as a long, flat, skinny flat fold. The keyword for that one is spring. This next one is Jardin Prive Carrot Market. These were the little bunnies that I stitched and framed this spring, and the keyword for that one is carrot. This one was a quick stitch and really cute, and the full thing looks like the picture on the top on the pattern, and then this bottom part is just an enlargement of the actual bunnies themselves. This next one, I showed it, but I think it may have been just when I did one of my very first floss tubes and showed a bunch of things that I had stitched. I did this one as a bell pull, and mine is on a blue linen. This is Little House Needleworks, and it's Needlework ABCs. And it's this long, skinny piece. Let me cover my face so that it will focus. And the keyword for this one is ABC. So that one. This is a Teresa Kogut. It's called Dancing with the Stars. This is the pattern. I love the faces on these snowmen. The keyword for this one is stars. I stitched this one on blue, and I used Krynic. No, I didn't use Krynic. I used a DMC metallic in the white for the snowmen, or for the stars, and they were kind of lumpy. I wasn't entirely thrilled with them. I didn't FFO this one yet either. I FFO almost everything, but these are a few that I've pulled that I didn't FFO yet. This one is Madame Chantilly, and it's My Sweet Love. It was a sweet little bunny with the balloon. I did it for a just an Easter spring holiday piece, but it would be really sweet in a baby's room. So my finishing is a little different. Just so that it wasn't quite as baby looking. But keyword for that one is love. And then this one, this pattern is actually from a kit, and this one is full sheet, but I will probably fold it in half to ship it. This is the Margaret Cherry Christmas Cuties. This is one of my favorite holiday pieces. When I pulled it out this year, I was so excited to put it up. And the keyword for this one is Christmas. And the chart actually has, it's charted for DMC or Anchor or Madeira. So they do have all of the numbers. So even though it was a kit, the pattern does have everything on it that you would need. And the pattern is in color. But we all know I don't see that well. And I had no trouble seeing this one. So this one is Christmas. So those are all of the patterns. To give everybody time to respond with, if you just put the keyword for any of those in the comments, and I will put in the notes below, I'll put the pattern name and the keywords as well, so that if you missed any, you can find them there. But looking at the calendar, my next video will be May 31st. So let's say put a comment by May 30th. And so that gives me a day to get to draw the, do the random picker thing on YouTube. It does have a nice tool to do that. and so that I'm ready to announce them on the 31st. Sorry, my calendar's on the wall over there. If I'm ever looking off that direction, that's what's happening. So now into all my stitching, because I have lots to show. So last time I showed Lavender and Lace, Isabella's Garden. This was the pattern. And the fabric that she stitched on is no longer made. It was a Zweigart, I think, but they don't make it anymore. Copper Penny? Oh no, it says hand-dyed linen, Copper Penny. Well, the Stitching Post knew that Copper Penny is no longer made. So whoever made it, that's not an option anymore. I did mine on blue. It's Fabrics by Stephanie Abyss is the name of it. And last time I showed, I had everything done except the beads. So I got the beads finished, and I showed a horrible orange frame that I bought, a framed piece on clearance at Marshall's, and I'm really excited with the way it came out. But before I show it, I wanted to share a tip. This is not my idea. I got this from Ronnie from Garon Stitchery's floss tube. And I used one of the little bead cases to hold the beads. You know, it's got the sticky in here so the beads don't roll around and you can pick them off, and then there's a magnet for your needle or whatever. But Ronnie's trick was to actually glue a magnet to it, and then I was able to just put this, you know, just like you would a needle minder, and then it was right there on my fabric. I wasn't having to lean over anywhere to grab a bead. It was right there in my Q-snap with the piece as I was beading, and it was a lot faster that way. So that's a tip from Ronnie. This is a metal case. It wasn't magnetic though, so aluminum. But you could do the magnet trick on anything, and the case is light enough. The magnets are probably heavier than the case, because these are some magnets that I think my dad pulled out of something. He had a whole stack of them, I remember. And I said, ooh, give me a few of those. I can use them for something. But anyway, here is my finished piece. And I'm really excited with the way she came out. So I had a happy accident with the frame. I painted it white and then decided it needed a second coat. And I don't know if the paint was reacting with the frame, like the finish that was on the original frame, which was this horrible orange. I didn't take a picture of the original orange frame, and I wish I had. I need to see if I can do a screen grab from my YouTube where I showed it. When I put the second coat of paint on, I don't know if it was reacting with the frame's original finish or if it's because the frame got too hot, but I had some crackling that happened. And you can maybe see it a tiny bit. It's in this channel is where you can where it really happened. I'll hold it up close. Yeah, you can see a little bit up there at the top. So it crackled, and I thought, now I'm gonna have to sand this thing and repaint it. This is just starting to be too much work. And then I thought, wait a minute, it's sort of random. It didn't crackle everywhere. I have a medium to put on paint to make it crackle. I'll probably use that at some point. It didn't actually split, so the horrible orange gold thing isn't showing through from the original frame finish. But it's just some random crackling, and then the more I thought about it, I was like, she's a very antique-y looking piece, so the crackling doesn't bother me. So once I got her framed, then I thought the white was a little too stark because the beads are white. So I'll show up close. These are all beads down here, and they're all beads up along here, and then there's a few random beads out with the bubbles. But other than the beads, this is all more of an ivory, right? It's like a 3865 and some other colors. It's not really white. So the white was looking too stark. So then I got out the German silver gilding paste. So gilding paste is actually designed for framers. It's how they put like a gold highlight or any kind of highlighting on frames is done with Gilder's paste. I bought mine a few years ago, actually at a scrapbook convention, but I am seeing that you can now buy it at Dick Blick. It is on Amazon, but the price was jacked up. It looked like Michael's and Joann's might have some, so might be an option to get it there with one of their coupons. I'm betting that they don't have it in the store, but so you'd want to do it when you were buying something else or shipping was there. But I'm going to show up close. I took the German silver Gilder's paste and put it on the raised parts on here, and it just toned down the white and then actually made the relief of the frame. So like these parts that are like carved out, I don't know if you can really, you can see it a little bit. It's subtle, but really happy with the way that came out. And there's a close-up of her with the beads. So these are all beads down here at the bottom of her skirt and then up along her shoulders. I did not do her skin 1/1. I just decided I went and looked at my mirabilia, and when I did my mirror, nobody was doing the faces in 1/1. They're not charted to do 1/1, and people were just doing them 2/2. And I thought, you know what, that has never bothered me, and I'm just not going to do the 1/1 on her. But now I have to figure out where I'm going to hang her, but thrilled with the way she came out. Get it straight here. So that is her all finished. Oh, you know what? I want to give that pattern away as well. So, keyword lace. I try to keep the keywords something that are unique that people wouldn't be using in just general comments, but I don't want to use something like Isabella because then people misspell it and stuff. So lace, and I'll give this pattern away as well. Let me put it with the giveaway pattern so I remember that. Okay. Now we are on to new stitching. So this is 2 starts, which I also finished. It's the hands-on design Gather Wildflowers, and I did it on 28 count Alma Gray Mist. This is the pattern, and I bought this one when I was buying market things. Oh, it is copyright 2024. This might have been a market release. And I did the house and this kind of quilt checkerboard motif. And I finished both of these. So here they are, both. That's upside down. It's like, why are my flowers pointing the wrong? Why do they in like a death spiral there? It's because it's upside down. I didn't do the Gather Wildflowers. I'm not entirely sure how I want to finish these. And I thought it was out of the fabric, but then when I went to grab something else, just in the last couple days, I realized that I had kitted a piece of this in with a different project. And so I pulled it out so that I can do the Gather Wildflowers, but I'm not sure I'm going to. But those are the 2 finished pieces. They're all the called for. They're DMC. And they were fun little stitches. And very bright and cheery. Now I just have to decide how I want to finish them. Generally for aesthetics, things should be in odd numbers. So I get why there's 3, but I don't know that I want the piece that just says Gather Wildflowers. It's this one over here on the side that I didn't do. She does have it charted for linen so that it's all 1/1, the words. I definitely won't be doing that, even though I got mine stitched on linen, but she has it charted both ways. So she has it charted 2/2 as well. But really happy with the way these came out. Now I just have to decide how to finish them. They're small enough, they could be little round pillow, pin cushiony things. Not sure. Need to give that some more thought. I do have some little round wooden things similar to these that I got. They're always in the spring collection at Hobby Lobby. They're probably there now. They're teak, but they are like 5 inches wide. They're the perfect size for a lot of these are made 4 inches. Sometimes I'll use a pillar candle holder, but those are made usually for like 3-inch pillars. So they're about 3.5 or 3.75 inches wide in diameter. And a lot of the stitch pieces are 4 inches, so these wouldn't work in that. But I do have some little wooden things or maybe pillows. I need to figure out where I want to use these. And then that'll guide how I want to finish them. All right, this next one, also a start and a finish. I'm so excited with this one. This one is Stacy Nash Animal Crackers, and it's Bobbin, which is a sweet little mouse. It was probably my favorite thing out of market release. Everybody knows that I love mice, as long as they're not real. If they're real, it's a whole drama. Can't sleep if there's a live mouse running around the house, and I know it. And a mouse in the mouse trap requires taking my glasses off, having a glass of wine, calling my best friend to talk me off the ledge while I squirm, and I just hate dealing with dead mice. But mice that are knickknackies, I've collected them since I was a kid, so it's kind of ironic that I'm so weird about dead mice. Fine picking up a live snake in the yard, but don't let me have to deal with a dead mouse. So anyway, Animal Crackers, Bobbin. I stitched him on 36 count XJU Designs Old Sheep Linen. And I think it was XJU Designs fabric, the grandma's slip that we got at Stitching in the Wild last year for the Teresa Kogut piece. It's a fabric that I hated the way it smelled, and so I didn't do a lot of work on that piece. And I've actually had the fabric just sitting out in the other room for several months now, letting that smell just dissipate, trapped in the project bag or in a plastic bag. That smell, just every time I got it out, I'm like, what the heck is that? I think that's what makes me, like, drives me crazy with it. It's a funny smell. It's not coffee. It may be some kind of tea, or that grandma's slip has kind of this orange streaking on it. And I almost wonder, is it like turmeric or something? I don't know what, I can't figure the smell out. And so that's part of what drives me crazy. But I'm happy to report that the Old Sheep Linen, even though it has been in a little plastic storage bag and has never been out, had no smell. So I was quite happy with it. And normally I would not cut into a larger piece. I tend to, for these smalls, use scraps. But this one, I was on the search for like the linen that I really liked the most. And I wanted 36 count because I didn't want him any bigger than this. And so I did cut into a piece of linen for him. But he is finished as well. Let me hold him back here so you get a better sense for color. But he was so fun. I need to look at, yeah, I would look at the other Animal Crackers, but I know the mouse is really the only one that I'm gonna want. If there was a cat, I would do a cat too, but, and I almost didn't do his mouse. I almost didn't do his tail pink. The pink tails on mice, field mice here anyway, the tails are brown and furry, just like the bodies. And the pink tail kind of is a little more rat-like than mouse-like. But I decided to just do him the way his face is so sweet. It's the big huge eyes that makes his face sweet. But I'm gonna finish him. I want to finish him very much like like they have here. So on top of the bobbin, and I think it's even cute the way they wound some thread around the bobbin and then pulled it up to the stitched piece. So I want to do a finish similar, very similar to that. So now I'm in the search for a bobbin, which I might have some wooden bobbins here. It's just, do I have one that's the right size? We'll see. If not, it gives me something to go shopping for, looking at the antique places, since I'm not supposed to be bringing more junk into the house. All right, this next one. This is also a start and a finish. This is Lizzie Kate, Be Your Own Kind of Beautiful. And I was shopping on 1-2-3 Stitch, like the day I had surgery in the morning. So it was 7:30. I had to be there at 5:30. And, oh, sorry, I've still got big bruising from the IV. I had to be there at 5:30, surgery at 7:30. I was home at 1:30. So I came out of surgery, went fantastic. I came out of anesthesia really well. They sent me packing. So I came home and in my half-drugged haze, did a little shopping on 1-2-3 Stitch. And one of the things that I got, I was looking at clearance patterns. I think what happened was there was something that I wanted from 1-2-3 Stitch, but I decided I needed some more in my cart to justify the shipping. And so I started looking at the sale patterns. And this Lizzie Kate popped up, and it's Be Your Own Kind of Beautiful. And I thought it was perfect for the 614 Stitcher hosts the month of May, mental health care Sal. And this Be Your Own Kind of Beautiful, I think just kind of sums up taking care of yourself. And, you know, for me, that's like the best thing of getting older. Maybe the only good thing, right? Everything else seems to be falling apart. But you really just, yeah, you don't care as much about things that we really just shouldn't care. But I love this little, you know, this is a little upside down flower. So I think that's what the Be Your Own Kind of Beautiful is. I am stitching this on 32 count Lugana, and it was one that was dyed by Jim from Fabrics by Jim. It used to be Silk Weavers. The store is Needleworks by Jim. And I can't think what the fabric line is. Something by Jim. It's one that he dyed for Stitch New Jersey last year. And I bought a piece of it thinking I would do a Mirabilia on it. But the Lugana, 32 count Lugana, is pretty tightly woven. And I actually don't enjoy stitching on it that much. So I cut into it to do the Be Your Own Kind of Beautiful. Now, you'll notice there's a couple things missing. There's a flower pot here. And there's a flower on the other side. I left those off because I want to do something for my niece with this. And she's in her 20s. And this flower pot over here is a very traditional style. But I think she would look at it and think it looks like an old lady stitch. So leaving this flower pot off, I then had to leave this flower off just to keep it balanced. So that's why there's a couple pieces missing. This is all I plan on stitching on this. This was super fast. I think I pulled this out one day where the scroll frame was driving me crazy and I needed something little. So I've got a lot of smalls happening, and then I've got a couple really big pieces. But the things that I finished obviously are smalls. I could do those in a little hoop and hold them in my hand, and just it was the most comfortable for me this week. But I do like this fabric that they had dyed. It's just kind of got a lot of every little pastel color. I mean, everything from blues and pinks and yellows, and it, from a distance, reads more, well, of course it doesn't on camera. It sort of reads more yellow than anything. But there are other colors in there. And this one is overdyes, and it's mostly the called for. This green is not, because I didn't buy any floss for this one. If I had the color it called for, I pulled that, and if it didn't, I pulled from whatever stash. So that's that one. All right, this next one you have seen before. This is a Country Day, and I stitched this on 32 count Grace Notes Blueberry Milkshake, which I love. I need to buy like half a yard of this Blueberry Milkshake. This one and Fabrics by Stephanie, Nantucket Sky, Lugana, I think is what I have in that. They make the perfect like sky kind of background. So Grace Notes Blueberry Milkshake. I'm hoping Memorial Day weekend to feel up to doing some fabric dyeing. So I'm going to play around and try and get some of these pale colors. See if I can, the paler colors especially, I think I can dye myself. I know I've done like a pale pink before. So my plan is to just play around with dyeing fabric. But enough digression. This one is a Country Day, and it's from October House Fiber Arts, and I got this one at a freebie table at one of the shows. I don't remember which convention, but somebody had put it on there. So it says a Country Day, but there's actually two charts in here, and they have it charted with a Country Day, and they have it charted with a Summer's Day. And they don't just give you, or a Summer Day, they don't just give you the words, it's the entire chart. One of them has a Country Day and an entire chart that has a Summer Day, so you don't have to do any kind of figuring out. I'm going to return this one on a freebie table, but I finished it. So here it is all done. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this. It would fit nicely in a 5x7 frame. I also thought about putting it on some sort of project bag. So this one also may not get FFO'd for a while because I just can't decide what to do with it. I even thought about using it for a smalls exchange, even though it's a tiny bit bigger than 5x5. And the butterfly, if I can get it to focus in, maybe. The butterfly is all 1/1. So the butterfly took as long as like all of these branches and leaves up here, because it was all 1/1 and was not charted. You couldn't do it except 1/1. The way it's charted, you couldn't do 2/2 if you wanted to. But this is the Blueberry Milkshake that I was talking about from Grace Notes, and I just love it. And this was my last piece of it. I had obviously used it for something else, and when I went digging for this, I was like, oh, this is the one that was supposed to go on here this way. The pattern also has like a wavy border around it. I didn't put the wavy border on because it was going to bring me over pretty close to the edge, and also the wavy border made it like 5 1/4 by 7 1/4. Or something like that, just big enough that it wouldn't work in a 5x7 frame. And if I want to frame it without the border, this will fit perfectly in a 5x7. So thankfully I decided I didn't want the border since I was a dope and didn't do it on the fabric the right way. That was just me being dumb and starting stitching without reconfirming on the pattern. All right, now I am into starts, which I have not finished. This one is Lilli Violette, Enjoy the Little Things. I got this one, well, I just fell in love with this one, but it was what I had planned on stitching for Mental Health Care Sal month of May, and I still am stitching on this one. But then I saw the Lizzie Kate one, and I think the Lizzie Kate one I may put on the front of a diary for my niece. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with it. But this one I am stitching on 36 count Atomic Ranch Weathered Stone, which I love. It's kind of a greenish gray modeling on cream. I had Weathered Stone, or I had something that was labeled as Weathered Stone that was more of a pinky modeling, and I loved it, and I kept ordering weathered stone, and it was coming and looking like this. And at StitchCon last year, digging through the piles, I came across Atomic Ranch Dune, and I think what I originally had was Dune that was mislabeled as weathered stone. So I got the bunny done, I'll accept the whiskers, and obviously I got the words. Since this is 36 count, I did do it 1/1, except the words, I mean 1/2, except the words I did do 2/2, because if you look at, well, it's not going to show up on camera. There you go. Look at the shoes, and with the black, the 1/2, it really, sorry that is flickering so badly. It really, the fabric showed through and it was more X-like, and I didn't want that for the words. I wanted the words to really pop. So I did use 2 strands, and it's a little bulky, but not bad. You wouldn't want to do something solid like the bunny on this with 2 strands, but for the words, it worked perfectly. So now I'm going to do the big bow down here and the wreath of flowers. And I sort of ground to a halt here, and I'll show you why. There is actually a flower right here, and it's oh, it's showing up on camera. Huh. It's the closest thing to this motif in the middle. It's the closest thing to count off of to find a starting point to do that wreath of flowers. But when I stitched it, it's white, and there are some white flowers in here, but because I'm using a lighter fabric than they did, the white is not showing up as much. And so I had a dilemma of whether I was going to keep the white or replace it. So I think what I'm going to do now is just keep this stitched as my starting point and go on with the wreath of flowers, and hopefully I don't hit too many. Yeah, it looks like I wouldn't hit a spot where I couldn't move on. Get all of the wreath of flowers and the yellow and the blue on, and then decide what color, like, do I want to stick with the white? Because I'll be honest, in person, well, this, aside from the stitches looking awful, you just can't, it doesn't show up in person. It's showing up better on camera than it is for real. So I've got to make some decisions about that. All right, this next one, I didn't stitch a lot on this. I started, and it's this I Would Rather Be Stitching from Primrose Cottage Stitches. This is the pattern. So it's designed to be this little pin cushion. So even on like 14 count, it would be just under 9 inches long and 3 inches high. That's just the stitching part. On 36 count, it'd be like 7 by 2 3/8. I am doing it on 20 count cork. So it's really big. And what I want to do is stitch it and make a tote bag like this. I've shown this one before. This is my Let's Stay Home and Stitch tote bag. So that's a Brenda Gervais. Project Quarantine was the pattern. And it's to make a pin cushion. But I've got a full, I mean, you can see how big it is. This is what I haul my stitching around in, like when I'm taking my stitching to Dad's. That's why it's so heavy and unwieldy, because it's got my Halo Go and all kinds of stuff in there. But I want to do a tote bag with this and possibly use it for a smalls exchange. Maybe at Stitch New Jersey. I haven't decided. I only have 2 smalls exchanges this year, since I didn't go to, oh no, I have 3, because I've got Stitch New Jersey, Stitching in the Wild, and Stitch New England. So I have 3 potential. I didn't make it to Stitch North. I've enjoyed seeing other floss tubers talk about it. But I was having surgery instead. Anyway, I started stitching on this and then realized this is kind of dumb. This is a perfect travel project for my dad's because this is 20 count. It's ginormous. I maybe could stitch without even having my real glasses on, let alone needing any kind of special magnification. And one of my favorite races, so when my mom passed away, I started going down visiting my dad on Sundays, and as a result was forced to watch NASCAR with him. And I have become a total NASCAR junkie. And my favorite race is Memorial Day weekend. It's at Charlotte, and the race the last 2 years has been like 6 hours long. It's terribly, terribly long. And I could probably stitch this in 6 hours. So I started working on it and then thought, you know what? I shouldn't stitch this now. I should save this one for project on the go. So that's why this one doesn't have very much stitched on it. But we'll count it as a start. It's more than one strand, which is what some people call a start. You know, I've got all of this color in basically. But that's the plans for that one, is to make it into a project bag. All right, this one. This is Barnwood buttons from Rosewood Manor. I have had this in stash for, well, ever since I got back into cross stitch. It's one of the first patterns that I saw and bought. And in my head, it was a quick little stitch because it's single color, haha. I'm doing it on 36 count, and it will be almost 20 inches wide. And I'm stitching in white. You all know how much I love not stitching in white. This is Weeks Dye Works Dolphin, 36 count. And this is about a quarter of it here. And it gets buttons sewn on. So this will have a button. I'm going to have to dig through buttons. I might even have to raid my mom's old sewing box at my dad's house to see if I can find some older buttons. I am stitching this in White Silks for You. I have a whole hank from them, and that's what I'm stitching this in. So it's 1/2 on 36. At first I thought I wasn't loving the coverage, but it really gives it a lacy look. And this square flower top up here, that doesn't have a single X in it. It's all backstitch, but it comes out really cool looking. So I'm liking the lacy look. This will go in my living room as green. Actually, I've got 2 pieces. My next piece is also for my living room. Yeah, this one will go pretty fast. Yeah. So that's that one. But this one I do have to have good magnification and lighting on. All right, this next one. Is this my last one? Oh no, I got a couple more. This one is ORATM from Toledo to Toledo. This is the pattern. This one I saw at Needlefest Extravaganza. It was one sponsored by Needleworks by Jim in New Jersey back in March. And when I looked in the room that ORATM was in, it was straight ahead, right by them sitting by their, I'll call it register, the area where they were sitting. And it was so gorgeous in person. This photo just does not do it justice. And it's the exact colors of my living room, like in my sofa and stuff in there. So I fell in love with it. My only real complaint, so it's, I think 9 pages. It's big. It will finish at 16 by 20, just under 16 by 20 on 28 count. So I am stitching it on 28 count, which I'm sure is what they had it stitched on. It was a pretty big piece sitting next to them there. My only complaint with the pattern is they don't tell you how much floss you need, and it's over dyes. So I ordered 3 of each, and I need to email her and see, does she know how many skeins she used? Even like what's the most I need? So that I can go ahead and order some to be sure I have enough. And if I buy more now and it doesn't match exactly, I can just work it in, you know, throughout the whole piece. Or maybe if like the bullfrog comes in, it's a different green, then I'll use one bullfrog up here, and maybe in this one I would use a different dye lot of bullfrog, whatever. I need to get enough so that I don't like end up down in a bottom section with something that just doesn't even match. But I got to start on this, and this one is on 28 count Fiber on a Whim Cream and Sugar. And I got a pretty good start. This is actually the top. But I had it in my scroll frame this way working on it. So that's why I've got it clipped here this way, because in my head right now this is how it's oriented. So this is 5 of the 7 colors that are a floss that are in it. Actually, I think this might be 6. There might only be one more color that isn't in here yet. If you like stitching on Quakers, you would enjoy this one. There is some repetition to it, of course. In fact, now this motif that's like a half diamond here, it's gonna now sit up in here as a full diamond, and that will repeat across. I had this in a scroll frame. This is the one that I was wrestling with. And I did go ahead and take it off because in addition to not liking it, I've decided I want to get rid of some of the extra fabric that I know I'm not going to need. I'm all about getting rid of as much of the excess fabric as I can. It's just less to have to wrestle with. And I also wasn't happy with the way I had it loaded in the scroll frame. So that's why it's off and ironed, and probably... I was going to say I won't stitch on this until my floor stand comes, but I may stitch on this bottom part at least just using Q-snap. Because I really was having fun with this one. So that's my OriTM. All right. This next one, this is my last one. This is a Luca S kit. And I have to say, I'm impressed with their kits. Their kits were very nice. I had a US kit that I started back in the winter, and the quality of the Aida, it was very stiff, like so stiff that it is next to impossible to get a darn embroidery hoop on it. And I wanted to just stitch it with an embroidery hoop, and that's not an option. But this is a Luca S kit. So comes from Moldova. And I fell in love with this one, and I wanted to try full coverage. So this is not quite full coverage. The sky up here doesn't get stitched. But everything else does. So the Aida is Weigart. It's very nice. If you stitch in hand, it's soft enough. I'm not an in-hand stitcher, and it's stiff enough for me. And I love the way the floss is carded. So it comes all carded like this. And I couldn't figure out at first why they didn't have all of the red like on one card, why the red is mostly on here, but then there's some over here. Well, it's because like this card has the most floss wrapped around. And this one, it's very little needed in these colors. But what I love is they don't have like some number that doesn't match anything. They've actually got the chart symbols on here. And then in addition to being wrapped around, they've got little holes punched. So any that I was using that, you know, I had already unspun, you can put in there like a floss drop. So really impressed with the way it's carded. And the charts are nice and big, easy to see. It is a European size paper. So it's very oversized. But yeah, I'm impressed with the quality of the kit. And here is my stitching. So I started with the telephone booth. It's in the bottom corner. And I normally would not start with red because I don't want to drag white next to the red and make it look, the white look pink. It's this phone booth over here. It's just, they recommended starting in the middle. I'm not usually a middle starter. And I wanted to start in a corner. And this was an easy corner to start in. So there's not a lot of white that's right up against the red, and I decided I was just gonna roll with it. So it's that phone booth that's in the corner. And it really gets all that dimensionality because there are like 8 or 9 different reds or pinks, kind of pinkish colors in here, and that's how you really get all that rich depth and shading and shadows. And I'm having a lot of fun stitching on that. It is Aida, and I'm stitching it on the Aida that came with the kit, and like I said, it's a nice it's a nice Weigart Aida. I don't know why you would stitch on linen or anything else when the entire thing is going to end up being covered. It's 18 count Aida, and it is 2 threads, so that's what gives that really solid coverage. There's not, it looks like white shining through, but that's really just different colors of floss picking up there. So my hand did get a little tired. Now this was, you know, a full day of stitching on this. It's about 1,000 stitches on here. So I think I figured it's about 3% of the way done. And it's this little corner of a phone booth. I don't know. Full coverage might not be for me. We'll see. I thought I would have a new pattern to show, but the pattern is apparently getting shipped separately, and I got the floss. So I'll tease you with this. It's not Christmas, even though you would think so from the red and green. Again, it's a ton of reds and a few greens. So I'll show that in my next episode because I think the package is scheduled to arrive tomorrow. Actually, it might not be till Monday. So I'll have that next time. But that is all of my recuperation stitching, and I'm hoping by Memorial Day weekend that I will be feeling up to doing some sewing with the sewing machine and digging out some fabric and finishing pieces so that I can get some of these FFO'd. But we'll see. That's 10 days away, 10 days-ish, so a week. We'll see what I'm feeling like by that weekend. So happy stitching, everyone, and don't forget, put your comment in with the keywords. I'll put the keywords, like I said, in the liner notes below, just so, you know, if you missed one, you can look and see what it is, and just put it in the comment, and I will do the drawing on the 30th so that I can announce them when I film on the 31st. And happy stitching, everybody. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.